May the Lord give this council the wisdom, discernment and courage to serve the community. Grant also that we may act compassionately and with integrity in the best interest of this shire. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. I would like to show respect and acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land and elders past, present and future on which this meeting takes place. This meeting has been audio recorded and those in attendance should refrain from making any offensive statements. There are to be no other recordings of this meeting without the prior authorisation of council. Thank you. Okay, councillors and those in the gallery, welcome to our meeting, and call for apologies, please.
Mr. Mayor, I have an apology from Councillor Burns.
Moved. Councillor Campbell, second. Councillor Driscoll, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Public participation, councillors, we've got two on SCR 02.2, the Development and Environmental Services Committee, subdivision of lot 1 into 2 lots. We've got Leonie Dowes speaking for the recommendation. Leonie, could you come up to the mic, please? You get 5 minutes to, but you'll hear a noise, and that's you got 1 minute to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to reaffirm my opposition to the proposal of the subdivision of block 168. Now, I did speak at the committee meeting, and we mentioned garbage trucks, etc. But another thing which I think is probably more important, should there be a fire, would it be possible to get a fire engine along that lane? It's a very narrow lane. And I think that really is a very important point. I would also like to commend the council for their planting of the approach to Scone from the northern end. You're doing a good job there. Thank you.
Could you just hold a minute there, please? Any councillors got any questions? Councillor Campbell?
Yeah, look, I thank you for coming and presenting your brief thoughts this time. But yes, and with the, did you say that there was a fire engine that went down that lane the other day, or was it just like?
No, I haven't seen a fire engine go down.
No, I see. All right. But what you were suggesting was that a vehicle of the size of a fire engine would have difficulty encountering that lane, entering that lane as well as exiting. Would that be right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Impossible, I think.
Okay, thank you.
No more questions, councillors? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. The second one, councillors, is H02.2, the Scone TAFE sale, council's position. We'll call on Phil Chadwick from the New South Wales Teachers Federation, seeking an amendment. Thank you, Phil.
Good evening, councillors. I also acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, and thank you on behalf of Scone TAFE teachers to be allowed to address the council. Council, the expressions of interest for the sale of Scone TAFE close tomorrow. To my knowledge, there has been little or no community consultation about the sale of this fantastic, world-class, purpose-built facility at number 2 Flemington Drive, Scone. We are asking the Upper Hunter Council to amend your motion to oppose the sale of the TAFE College. Teachers are concerned that any leaseback arrangements that would provide a 3-year 1+1+1 contract will not provide long-term security if the site is sold to a developer or a private RTO. Teachers are deeply concerned at the potential for the loss of practical, hands-on training. The local Connected Learning Centre has its place. What it allows TAFE to do is it allows TAFE to connect students at different locations together so that the course that is being run becomes financially viable. What CLC cannot do is provide that face-to-face integrity and community that comes with an actual flesh and blood teacher. You cannot replicate the practical activities that occur on an 18-hectare site such as Scone TAFE out the back of a teacher's car, off a laptop, or on a quarter-acre block across the road from Woolies. It's just impossible. CLCs have their place. The CLC at Scone TAFE should have been constructed on site, like the one in Singleton. In that case, the CLC complements and supplements the activities of the TAFE College. However, the Federation has noticed an alarming trend that when the CLC is built off-site, approximately 18 months after the CLC comes online, the TAFE College is very quickly up on realestate.com.au. Prior to the New South Wales election, Upper Hunter MP Michael Johnson stated that both sites would remain operational. Yet now I find myself here in front of you all pleading that you amend your motion to step in and stop this ridiculous sale. During 2020, the COVID pandemic forced many courses online. The feedback that the Teachers Federation has from students, not only at TAFE, but also in high school and primary schools, is that the students far prefer face-to-face, hands-on learning. Local students should be able to have a choice to choose whether they go into a TAFE college and do practical face-to-face, hands-on teaching and learning, or have the option to do it online, in the same way TAFE students in Sydney do. Course offerings of a private RTO, registered training organisation, may not align to the broader needs of the agricultural community. What we've noticed when private providers take over from existing TAFE colleges, the private providers cherry-pick courses to align with their individual needs. We are concerned that if a private provider from the racing industry was to take over Scone TAFE, the veterinary nursing, agricultural courses, farrier courses and other equine courses not aligned with racing would suffer. Those courses are not delivered anywhere, are not delivered via the CLC and nowhere else locally. Practical delivery at the connected learning centres are limited. Off-site options do not cater for biosecurity, work health and safety, or all-weather delivery. Scone TAFE was built in 1996 at a cost of around $8 million. It is irreplaceable and it should not be sold off for a song. Scone TAFE must not be sold off so everybody in the local community can maintain access to this world-class facility. The sale of Scone TAFE highlights everything that is wrong with the New South Wales government's smart and skilled funding policy. Effectively, TAFE across the state of New South Wales has been starved of funding, and now we find it necessary that we are literally selling off the farm to meet operational costs of paying the wages of teachers and support staff. Students deserve better than this. The state of New South Wales, the people of Scone, we all deserve better than this. Council, I beg you, please amend your motion to oppose the sale of Scone TAFE, because if we save our TAFE, we save our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Just stay there for a second, please. Councillors, any questions?
Yes,
Councillor Rabbit?
yes, thank you very much for your presentation, and I wholeheartedly support TAFEs and public education. I just want to clarify, or rather get you to clarify something for me. So when these TAFEs get sold off, you've seen in your opinion that they do become, that they align, the private enterprise aligns the courses with their particular thing.
In recent times, for instance, I can give you a couple of examples. Bega TAFE has been sold, sorry, not Bega TAFE, sorry, Dapto TAFE. It was sold, it didn't go to a private RTO. It actually went to the New South Wales Police Force. They now use it as an anti-terrorist training facility. A TAFE at Granville was sold. It did not stay as a vocational provider. It's now gone to a private school. In some cases, we've seen Meadowbank TAFE was handed back to the Department of Education for use as a high school. What we have seen is where the private providers have taken on the role of doing the TAFE work, they cherry pick the courses which are cheap and easy to deliver. What basically ends up, it means that there's less choice, particularly in rural areas, for the number of courses available.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any more questions? Councillor Watts?
Mr Johnson has said that TAFE New South Wales is committed to ensuring its educational and training delivery profile will not be impacted as part of this process. You don't agree with that?
I'd have to ask Mr Johnson if he could provide some specific examples of actually how they intend to do that. As I stated before, Scone TAFE is a purpose-built facility. It has simulated yards for veterinary nursing, equine studies, agricultural studies. You just can't do that out of a connected learning centre. Connected learning centres have their place. Effectively, it's a shop front. The courses are run virtually by, how could I put it, Zoom or Teams meetings. You don't have that hands-on experience. Now, I think Mr Johnson is referring to be able to find an alternate site. Mr Johnson hasn't taken in the considerations that it doesn't satisfy the needs of biosecurity. If you have a group of students tramping on and off a property somewhere, there is the potential there to go through and spread all sorts of diseases. There is also, you must take in consideration that TAFE students in this particular instance will be novices straight from high school. They have very little experience with dealing with the agricultural industry, and we need a purpose-built facility to ensure that that delivery is conducted in a safe fashion. We also need all-weather facilities so that those students are not exposed to the sun or to the harsh storms as we've just seen in the last 10 minutes here at Scone. I don't think Mr Johnson's actually put a lot of thought into it. I think that's a case of policy on the run and coming up with alternatives that suits his agenda.
Thank you.
Any other councillors? Councillor Campbell?
Yes, thank you for your presentation, indeed. Can you tell me how many students are attending the Scone TAFE at the present time? Are all the facilities being used?
Could I refer that to one of my colleagues? If council permits, I can give approximate numbers, but I think someone...
We'll just take the approximate, thank you.
Approximate numbers, there's currently around about 400 students enrolled at Scone TAFE. You must remember that the New South Wales government has had 6 years now to run down the enrolments there. Scone TAFE has seen, it's bucked the trend of the recent COVID. In the areas of thoroughbred breeding, we have seen a substantial improvement in the number of students attending Scone TAFE. The place is growing.
Secondly, thank you, Mr Chairman. Secondly, or Mr Mayor, you mentioned the fact that you believe that the farrier and some of the courses would be deleted. What evidence do you have of that?
I did not say deleted. I said the alternatives would not be possible via, well, the quality of the delivery would be severely impaired if it was forced online. I can't imagine someone backing a horse into the CLC down the road here and being taught properly how to put a shoe on that horse off a laptop. So
coming from an agricultural property, and running livestock, the sheep and wool, of course, I don't know what they call it now, but that was back when I did the course. You're suggesting that there would not be the facilities if it were not at that TAFE premises to run that particular course?
Locally, no. If you were to go to another TAFE college, you'd probably have to travel some distance to either Kurri Kurri or Tokal. Okay. Or possibly down towards Sydney. Richmond College has those facilities, and there's also one near Yass.
Okay, just a third one, Mr Mayor. And the teaching, you're suggesting that there has not been a drop-off in the students wanting to attend TAFE. So there has been a little debate about that, and I'm not sure, I'm not saying one way or the other. If there was a drop-off, what would be the reason? Is it the cost or just what, or availability of teachers? Do you have sufficient teachers to service those courses?
Currently, it's my understanding at Scone TAFE there are 2 full-time staff, and we have a flexible workforce of up to 16 part-time casuals. That would be an absolute certainty that we have sufficient staff to do that. Now, as far as the enrolments go, can I just say, every TAFE college in the state back in 2015, its enrolments received a huge hit when simultaneously the New South Wales government introduced its Smart and Skill funding policy, which saw the introduction of some rather exorbitant fees, which are found to be a barrier to entry into vocational education, while at the same time introducing what's called the EBS IT system. EBS IT system is not fit for purpose. It still hasn't been fixed. And for 2 years, from around 2015 to 2017, it absolutely wreaked havoc, not only on Scone TAFE's enrolments, but enrolments right across the state of New South Wales. Teachers right across the state have worked really, really hard to turn that around. And I believe in this case that Scone TAFE should be given the opportunity to build and recover from that damage that was done from very bad policy decisions made by the New South Wales government.
All right, thank you. No further questions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. No further questions? Okay, thank you, Phil, for your...
Yeah, thank you, Council. I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
We'll just go through the councillors, the first little part of the agenda, then we might jump down to page 163 to save the TAFE hanging around, unless they want to wait for 163 pages, but I'd imagine you'd be grateful for it to come up. So,
Mr. Mayor, there is no representative from TAFE to speak.
no other speakers, Councillor Campbell. No, only one was registered. Okay, councillors, we'll just go through this little bit here so I don't get confused. We'll do the confirmation of the minutes. No, that's not right. Yes, it is. Confirmation of the minutes. The ordinary, we'll do them in 3 different parts. The ordinary council meeting held on the 14th of December. I'd like to move. Move Councillor Watts, second. Councillor Fisher. Questions, comment, discussion. Councillor Abbott.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. On page 9 of 11, with questions with notice, I just wanted to know why my other questions weren't then included when they were answered, which they have been answered, why they weren't included in this agenda so that the public could see them, because they've only been sent to me to date. Thank you.
Mr. General Manager. Or...
Yes, Councillor Abbott, I think the fact that they were sent out, we felt that that would be sufficient rather than being formally noted in the minutes. If that was not the understanding, we do apologise.
Thank you. Yes, I would like the community to see the questions that I asked and to see the answers that council provided me with, because yes, I think that would be appropriate. Thank you.
We can have those fixed and brought to the next council meeting as an amendment to the minutes to the December meeting.
Thank you.
That would be fine.
No more questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. The extraordinary council meeting held on the 14th of January. I'd like to move that was present. Move Councillor Fisher. Second, Councillor Campbell. Questions, comment, discussion? Councillor Abbott.
Yes, I have. I just would like to say that in my view, these are not a true and accurate record, because among many things, I did ask about the operations on calling for an extraordinary meeting, and do we have an operations policy manual on how we call for them, like other councils do? And I also requested that it be noted that I was not entirely sure that the meeting was legal. And basically, I just would like to be provided further to the meeting, and with respect to being provided with information on a timely basis, does council have a policy regarding information supplied to councillors? Thank you.
Councillor Abbott, I think I went through this. I believe I called this extraordinary meeting as the mayor, which I'm entitled to do.
I just wanted to know whether we had an operations manual on how we call extraordinary meetings. So is that written somewhere? Do we have one? Because I thought it came from, so it was called by you and the Deputy Mayor, but why did we call it for a Section 355 committee? And that's what I wanted to know, was how do we go about calling extraordinary meetings? I understand that you have the power to call meetings, but from within a Section 355 committee, where does it state how that can be called? I wanted to see that, and whether we have an operations policy manual for that sort of thing.
Mr. GM.
Councillors, I wasn't present at that particular meeting, but it's the Code of Meeting Practice which dictates how an extraordinary meeting is called. It's detailed on page 7 of the code. In fact, what the Mayor has said, he has the power to call an extraordinary meeting with 3 days' notice.
So just to clarify, so that's on any type of committee, from anywhere, from the airport committee, that's possible, the Mayor can call that?
If he calls a meeting, it will be a council meeting. It won't be a meeting of a committee. It will be a full council meeting.
And so do we have a policy? Do we have an actual operations manual on how? So is there, like, because I understand that other councils for their Section 355 committees can have committee members call extraordinary meetings. Is that possible from within this council?
That would normally be part of the charter for the 355 committee. I am not familiar with every charter of this council yet, so I'd need to have a look at those individual ones and see which charters allow for that to occur.
Okay, thank you. And then just that other question was, do we have a policy regarding information supplied to councillors? Like what information, like as you know, just within just various things to do with the airport committee and other committees as well. It has been quite difficult for me to actually get information. So I just wanted to know, do we have a policy? Because again, I know that other councils have a policy for supplying information to their councillors. Thank you.
Continue through you, Mr. Mayor. The Local Government Act sets out what can be provided to councillors as part of their role as councillors and what can be withheld. I'm not aware of a particular policy within this organisation that goes further than what the Act already outlines. I'm happy to pursue that further with the staff and see if there is a policy, but I'm not aware of one.
No more questions, comment, discussion? Did I have a mover? I had to go back a bit now. Moved by Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Campbell. No more questions, comments. All in favour? Against? Hands up those 4. Collison, Watts, Fisher, Campbell, Driscoll. Against, Councillor Abbott. Okay, the extraordinary council meeting held on the 21st of January. Someone present, move those. Move Councillor Driscoll, second. Councillor Fisher. Questions, comment, discussion?
I just want to quick question about, we've changed the name, have we, of the Aviation Attraction Visitor Centre, Aviation Visitor Attraction. So is this new name the Hunter Warbirds? Is that the new name? Or,
It's coming up in the Airport Management Committee.
I beg your pardon.
Page 25. Thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. Disclosure of interest.
Mr. Mayor, I have one disclosure of interest before me from Councillor Watts in regard to item G02.2, the relocation of Scone Visitor Information Centre. Councillor Watts declares a pecuniary significant interest as she is the manager of Scone Neighbourhood Centre, and she will leave the room and have no involvement in the debate.
Thank you. No further. Okay, we're nearly there. TAFE, we're nearly there. A recognition of the length of service, a mayoral minute. This is to Ray Cronin, known since he was a young boy as Mick. Began with the former Merriwalsh Council in 1981 as a loader driver and was put in the position for around 5 years before becoming a truck and loader driver, which he has been doing ever since. Mick was the first to operate a truck and dog when council purchased a dog trailer and carted aggregate from Gulgong to Willotree for road reseals within the Shire. I congratulate Mick on his services of 40 years and thank him very much, and I will try and go out and meet him on site one day. So councillors, all that is just a notation. Someone like to move? Move, councillor Watts, second councillor Campbell. Councillor Campbell, I see you itching to make a comment.
I am, certainly. I've learned something tonight. His name is Ray. I've always known him as Mick, and he's certainly been very much dedicated to not only his council work, but he's also been very good at it. I also know has operated a loader, and he still does that. But yeah, everybody knew him as Mick Cronin, and so it's really good to see that we are recognising his length of service, because he certainly has been an asset to our shire. So I commend him for that.
Thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. One quick one, councillors, I'll just put in here. I wish to apply for 2 weeks leave from the 10th of March to the 26th of March. Councillor Fisher will be the acting mayor during that time. Do I need a mover for that?
Yes.
Move, councillor Campbell. Second, councillor Driscoll. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Okay, councillor, someone like to move that we jump down to page 163. Councillor Watts, second, councillor Abbott. We'll move down to H02.2, the Scone TAFE sale position. You can if you just give me 2 seconds. Do we wish to read this out, Mr. GM, before I move into recommendations?
It might be worthwhile.
Could you do
reading
that,
now. I
please?
can
It's
do
just
that.
a letter from the local member, Michael Johnson. So I'll get the GM to read that out.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I received a response from the local member, Mr. Michael Johnson, on Friday afternoon in response to this report. And he writes, "Dear Greg, thank you for your inquiry. I have the following response. TAFE New South Wales will continue to deliver high quality training in Scone and across the Upper Hunter region. Since its opening in July 2019, the new multi-million-dollar Connected Learning Centre has boosted training available in the Scone community by offering a wide range of new courses that were not previously available. I am advised that no students will be affected by the divestment of the Flemington Drive site. All currently enrolled students will complete their training as per normal. TAFE New South Wales is committed to ensuring that its educational and training delivery profile is not impacted as part of this process. Education will move to the new multi-purpose CLC in the centre of Scone, coupled with leaseback options at the Flemington Drive site. Additionally, any course delivery arrangement can and will be flexible based on the demand of students and industry. For example, TAFE New South Wales has, for many years, delivered courses at workplaces and other sites requested by students. This affords students the opportunity to travel less and learn more. Importantly, TAFE New South Wales will continue to offer training and qualifications that meet local environment demands and industry skill requirements. This includes qualifications such as agriculture and equine studies. I'm also advised that proceeds from the sale will be reinvested into TAFE's operations in the region. Kind regards, Michael Johnson.
Thank you. Councillor Watts, back to you with a amended recommendation.
Thank you. The amended recommendation is that council call upon the New South Wales Government to immediately cease any proposal to sell Scone TAFE. The council calls on Minister Jeff Lee for a full and comprehensive consultation with the community about the impacts the sale of the TAFE will have on future of jobs and skills in the Hunter. The findings of this transparent community consultation will be reported back to the council and the community.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Second,
Either.
councillor Driscoll. You seconded? Okay, councillor Watts, you want to speak?
I do want to
further?
speak. The sale of the TAFE is a huge concern for this community. The impacts on all of us, but especially our young people. The courses currently supported through the Scone TAFE cannot be moved to the CLC, which is to me a glorified internet cafe at its best. Young people need support to achieve results, and doing classes online is not how this can be achieved. I want councillors to think back with their own schooling and the hands-on results that they got. If young people cannot learn in Scone, they will move to other places, and many will not return, leaving Scone to become an older generation in this town. We need to ensure the TAFE is not sold and remains to support our young people or anyone that wants to go to TAFE to get the skills right now in our own backyard. Thank you.
Okay, councillor, any councillor like to speak against? You don't have to.
I don't really want to speak against. I understand the arguments put forward by the councillor Watts very clearly. I'm happy with the original, with the recommendation as tabled in our papers. I think that's the best way forward for us at the moment. I hear, Phil, your comments about the way TAFE has been run and managed by the state government over the last 6 years, and it's clearly not been doing well. I do believe that the potential Racing New South Wales offer has the potential to throw a bit of a lifeline to our TAFE so it doesn't end up like Corinda's. We've been through, I mean, I'm not going to detail all the conversations I've had with various different people, but that's my firm belief. I don't want to see any loss of educational facilities. TAFE does have leaseback options in certainly the offer that I've been given some insight into. That includes the welding and fabrication area. I'm told that equine studies, farrier courses, etc., will be part of the new RTO if that expression of interest is accepted. Anyway, so I'm happy with the original recommendation, and I'll be sticking with that.
Okay, councillor Driscoll, did you second it? Would you like to speak for?
Yeah,
For the amended recommendation?
No.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
There you go, you can speak if you wish to speak. Are you happy?
I'm happy with it, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Any other speakers against? No. Councillor Watts, you wish to?
Can I speak for it? Yeah, thank you. I'd just like to basically mirror everything Councillor Watts said. And I think that this sale of a wonderful public education facility, and it's publicly owned, is a very cynical ploy by this coalition government yet again. And the downgrading of education is, in my view, a crime. We need public education. We need facilities like Scone TAFE. We have a world-class TAFE here. We have this now. And it is a stunning education facility on so many levels. I actually did desktop publishing there, and I learned to type there. And they have so many courses on offer that they do appeal to a lot of people. But we just can't let this happen on our watch. This is in our shire. We have this marvelous public education facility that has so many different courses for so many different people. I mean, I've listened to Councillor Fisher, and I understand that New South Wales Racing have come up with a plan, but we have enough racehorse stuff here. We need to think just about public education and how important that is, how important it is to teach everybody in our community about living life, you know, how to vote, how to do so many things. We can't talk more passionately about public education. And yes, we own that right now, and we should continue owning it. If we let that sale go through, we are losing this. It will no longer be in our hands. We'll have some private company make some sort of, you know, they'll do some parameters and some little sort of conditions that will sound very nice to start with. And then before we know it, it'll be really expensive and very specific and very specialized. We need to do everything we can. We need to do everything Councillor Watts said in her motion. We need Scone TAFE to stay in public hands. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't warn you that we're not supposed to clap in the gallery. Councillor Watts, you got the right to last.
Yeah. Look, I just want a clarification, Mr. Mayor. In the notes on page 163, it says, Colliers Australia are presently acting for the state government and is seeking expressions of interest for the sale, which closes on the 23rd of February 2021. Colliers note that the sale includes a TAFE New South Wales presence for a term of 1 year plus 2 one-year options. Is there any guarantee of that? And also the very fact that these course of agriculture and farrier and that sort of thing, we don't seem to have any guarantee. Is that, am I reading it correctly, that will take place, or is it still not decided?
My understanding, Councillor Campbell, no, there's no guarantee because we're not guaranteed who's going to be the owner. That's the way I understand it. Councillor Watts, you wish to speak again? Last speak.
Thank you.
Half of me.
The reason for this recommendation is that what councillors actually put forward is not strong enough. So that's why we've gone with this recommendation. But I need to say there's never any guarantee, especially with state government. Mr Johnson said at the last election he promised to keep both TAFEs. He's already broken that promise by putting it up for sale. So I'd just like to say we need to support our TAFE, we need to support our young people, and we need to make sure that it stays not for sale and is not sold. Yeah, I think I've said it all. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going to say a lot, only the recommendation that we put up with council was a starting off. That was the go of it, and that's what council's here for now, is to bring a recommendation through. I think there's a little bit missing in the clarity around at least length of time. If someone could have told me 20 or 30 years, I may have taken it. But anyway, we're going to go back to the amended recommendation. Everyone clear on it? Don't need it read out anymore? Everyone's clear? So moved by Councillor Watts, second by Councillor Driscoll. All in favour of the amended recommendation? I'm going to read them out. Collison, Watts, Abbott, Campbell and Driscoll, and against is Councillor Fisher. Carried. You can leave, but I think you should stop. Thank you very much. Okay, councillors. We all realise things mightn't go as the way we want anyway, so. Okay, now down to SCR 02.1, the Corporate Services Committee. Just noted there that Councillor Abbott was in attendance. Have someone move, please. Move Councillor Campbell, second Councillor Abbott. Questions, comment, discussion. Councillor Abbott.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that I was there at that meeting. I'd just like to also mention, though, that Councillor Watts and Councillor Campbell left early. That possibly should have been noted. It is, I beg your pardon. So thank you. I'd also like to mention that my councillor questions, I may be wrong on this too, at the usual place at the end of the meeting with respect to yes, I had questions at the end of the meeting and I can't see them in here. And I couldn't see them on the YouTube clip either. So I just wondered why that was cut off, because I did ask if I could be a member and why and I was answered that I couldn't be because you had enough on the committee anyway. But I also made a comment as to why I had been hurried along asking questions about Aboriginal land claims and native title and compulsory acquisition and Crown lands, and that I had actually asked why we had merged the two committees when given that everyone seemed to be in a rush. But anyway, so those were questions I did ask at the end, and I can't see them in these minutes, but I'm happy to stand corrected, and they're not on the YouTube. So I just wanted to mention them.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. If you look at page 5, Councillor Abbott, you'll see the councillor questions there.
Yes, they were questions I asked during the meeting, but they weren't the questions I asked at the end of the meeting. So they don't. There's no question there as to why I couldn't be a member, or.
Right. So how many questions have been missed in?
The questions were missed. So the end of that meeting's cut off on YouTube.
Right.
And I asked about why I couldn't be a member of the committee, which you explained. That was explained. And also asked about why the two committees had been merged, and that we had rushed, because I got rushed along when I was asking Ms. McLaughlin questions about native title and Aboriginal land claims and the Crown lands. And so I just raised a question about that and whether those two committees should actually ever have been put into one committee.
Yeah, the normal practice is if the questions are able to be answered by the staff, then they wouldn't appear in the minutes. They would just appear in the minutes here if they weren't able to be answered and taken on notice.
So we don't get the questions, because we often have the question. What you're saying, just to clarify, is that if they're answered at the meeting, they then don't appear in the minutes.
Yeah, because
so we're not recording them in the minutes.
That's correct, because the questions have already been answered. Questions without notice have already been answered during the meeting.
So even though that might be of interest to the community, we're not putting them into the minutes.
Well, I think the community can look online.
Well, they can't this time.
I'm not sure why that's the case, but normally the YouTube would go right for the whole duration of the meeting.
Well, you can have a look and have a check.
Okay.
I'm just wondering whether we actually finished the meeting by then, but I could have, and I talked about it to you, Councillor Abbott. Unfortunately, two councillors left the meeting. I had a meeting with Councillor Fisher with two gentlemen from Sydney. I could have closed the meeting off at that page if I had wished, but then we would have had to come back, or the committee members would have had to come back to finish that part of the meeting. So unfortunately, those gentlemen were waiting, and I had no option but to move it along. I think we all had a reasonable amount of time. But anyway, okay.
Could I just make another comment then, that maybe we need to allocate more time for meetings? Maybe we need to have the diaries that actually fit all these meetings in, so that if councillors or anybody has questions or things to say, that you have the opportunity at that meeting to say it.
Yeah, take on those, but I would have thought 3 hours for that meeting was ample. I think we are working through the land committee. When we've got the big finance paper, we might leave the land committee, defer the bigger reports off. Anyway. Okay. Did I get a mover on it now? I think I did. Robin? Yes? Okay. Any further questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 9. SCR 02.2, Development Environment Services. We'll do it in part 1. Adopt the minutes. Moved by Councillor Fisher. Second, Councillor Campbell. Any questions, comment, discussion around the minutes? All in favour? Against? Carried. Down to dot point 2 is to refuse the development application. Move Councillor Fisher. Second, Councillor Campbell. Questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 18. SCR 02.3, Infrastructure Services. Move Councillor Campbell. Second, Councillor Abbott. Yeah, but I just looked that way at the same time, sharing it around. Questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 25, C02.1, Airport Management Committee. Moved Councillor Fisher. Second, Councillor Driscoll. Any questions, comment, discussion? Councillor Abbott.
Thank you. So this is where I need to ask my question on Hunter Warbird. So is that the new name of the facility?
Will we ever go through tonight?
Okay. And so so then will everything be changed accordingly? You know, where we've mentioned the Aviation Visitor Attraction Centre before, will we change everything over?
I might, you wish me to hand that over to you? You're right to answer that? Yep, thank you.
I guess the Warbird Visitor Attraction, that's more of a generic name for what it actually is, but the name of the centre will be Hunter Warbirds. That will be the branding of the centre, and that's the name that you'll see. I think there was 3 options put forward by Stafford Group, and the committee felt that hunter warbirds most reflected the nature and the character of the building.
Thank you. I just want to ask, with the Warbird in Scone event, was that the Mirage arriving? Was that on Saturday? Was that what that was? Yes.
On Saturday was the arrival of the Mirage,
Yes.
and it was just a little bit of extra there they put on to out of their own pockets, just to please the crowd.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I think that's it. Oh no, there's one more thing, but I'm not sure if it's in this one. I think, yes, it is. With Westpac helicopter, which is a marvellous thing, don't get me wrong, but I want to know, is there any reason why it is actually the New South Wales Air Ambulance, which is this is actually a public machine. Why do we refer to it as the Westpac helicopter? Because essentially that's advertising, because it is the New South Wales Air Ambulance.
Is that documented in this report?
Yes, I think there was somewhere there was a call for whether they might be able to come and do a stand, the Westpac helicopter.
Yes, you're right, Councillor Abbott, that was mentioned. Might just take that on notice.
It's just for further illustration. I know many years ago, in about 2014, the Queensland Police had a couple of patrol cars that had been sponsored by Santos. So we don't refer to them as the Santos Police, and it didn't go down well. Clearly, this is completely different. And you know, Westpac have obviously put a lot of money in, but at the end of the day, it's advertising on a public piece of machinery, which it is an air ambulance. It's the New South Wales Air Ambulance that is paid for by people in New South Wales.
Thank you. Any more questions? All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to C02.2, page 33, the Merriwell Tourism and Promotion Committee. Move Councillor Campbell, second Councillor Watts. Questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 36, Australia Day Committee, Merriwell. Move Councillor Campbell, second Councillor Watts. Questions, comment, discussion?
If I may, Mr. Mayor. Look, Merriwell was very proud of Australia Day once again. It was very successful, and in fact it filled the hall to capacity, and we had to be reminded by the COVID marshals that we had to move outside, which was really good. And so consequently that people complied and then moved outside, which was good. The other thing, of course, is the fact that it's well attended, and it was so appreciative of Gina Jeffries and her husband, and who gave us a little of the rendition of some of her great musical talents, and her husband, who was just brilliant on the guitar. But I just wanted to make the council and the public aware just how successful it was, and there's strong enthusiasm out there. And next year we're hoping to go to Castless and include them. Thank you.
Page 39, Merriwell Age Hostel Committee. Move Councillor Watts, second Councillor Campbell. Questions, comment, discussion?
Yes, I have. Thank you. I just want to know why it has taken so long for all these records of proceedings and minutes to come to council. And also on pages 44, that I note that there were medication incidents and documentation errors, and on page 48 the pharmacist is noted in relation to the September medication incidents, and I just wondered why was that.
Mr. GM.
I'll take the first question, and then I might get you to repeat the second one for me, but let me address the first one. The reason I think it's taken so long is because the first two meetings held on the 2nd November and the 24th of August were actually record of proceedings. They couldn't be adopted by the committee until the committee had a quorum to actually meet. And so those two records of proceedings were finally adopted when the quorum when the committee met and had quorum. And so then all three documents came to council, being the one set of minutes and the two sets of recordings. Your other question, sorry, councillor?
Yes, thank you for that. That explains that. And I just mentioned that there were medication incidents and documentation errors. And on page 48, it mentions that the pharmacist was noted the pharmacist was contacted in relation to the September medication incidents. And I just wondered why was that? Was there an error? From where was the error?
Councillor, I'd have to, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd have to either pass that to the director or we might have to seek further information. Yeah, thanks. Well, I'll take that one on notice.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment, if I may, on this? Is it possible? May I or not? Look, I'm a member, the council member on that committee, and it's certainly been a challenge and still is a challenge to the committee and council directors to it. But I'd like to assure council that progress is being made, and I'd refer them to the later committee minutes and documentation, because it matters that make the changes. We have made changes, or not we personally, but the government place management and under Matt Pringle, and to meet the specification requirements. And one thing that is so pleasing is the fact that residents have no complaints and are very happy with the level of care and also the accommodation. The other matters, of course, are being addressed, and I'd also like to assure council that the committee is very well aware of the shortcomings, and those matters that you talked about with the local pharmacists had been addressed.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. No more questions? All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Over to page 67. Move Councillor Watts, second Councillor Driscoll. Any questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Councillors, over to C02.6, page 71. Councillor Abbott, you'd like to move with a comment?
Yes, I'd like to move this, and I would like to just say how very sad I was to hear of Mr. Mark Reedman's untimely death. And I would like to say and to comment that I immensely enjoyed working with him when I was a board member on the Arts Upper Hunter Board. And yes, it is great sadness. And I understand that council has written a letter of condolences. And just to say, he was a marvellous asset. He really advocated for art, and he did a lot for us in the Upper Hunter, and he will be missed. He is missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Watts. Any more questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Over to page 81, D02.1, the planning proposal to rezone land to IN2 light industrial. Get a mover. Move Councillor Campbell. Second. Councillor Fisher. Questions, comment, discussion? Councillor Abbott.
Yes, I am concerned about rezoning the land, changing the LEP for yet another petrol station. I would like some more information on this. I'm worried about the contamination that may be there from Stoneco and from Darracon, and I wonder how Stoneco and Darracon were actually permitted to use that land anyway, given I believe it is residential, isn't it, at the moment? So I'm concerned as to what is going to go there as a warehouse distribution centre. Is that like the sort of thing Amazon has in that great big capacity? And how will that change Scone? So I haven't got my head around this. I need more information. I'm concerned we're becoming a bit like a motorway services. And I just would like to know a bit more information about the proponent and what is planned. Thank you.
Mr. Pringle.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. This rezoning application was originally supported by council in 2019. So there's quite a bit of information provided to council at that time. In terms of the use of the land by, I think it was Darracon, part of the bypass project, that was approved by Transport for New South Wales, or RMS at the time, as part of that project. So that was approval granted under Part 5 of the EPNA Act, and there was an addendum to the REF for that. Any issues, I guess, from the future use associated with the future use of that land will be covered in a future development application. So we can look at those sort of issues in detail at that stage.
Any more questions, comments? Councillor Campbell?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, look, I'm happy to support this because it's a planned development and really in Scone, I think that we need to have an area where transports and commercial vehicles can get away from the centre of town. That was one of the big things with the Scone bypass, that people said, get these trucks out of town. And to have a facility like that, a proper design facility to not only allow trucks to stay there and stay, my understanding is overnight. I'm not sure that would be part of the development application, but I think that it is a great advantage to the town. It just keeps those heavy transports up in an area which is away from our town.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. All in favour? Aye. Against? So Collison, Watts, Fisher, Campbell, Driscoll, 4 against. Councillor Abbott. Okay, councillors, over to page 119. Natural disaster clause. Move Councillor Campbell. Second, Councillor Fisher. Any questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 126, the heatwave management plan. Councillor Abbott. Got a seconder? Councillor Watts. Any questions, comment, discussion? Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, look, thank you. While I believe, Mr. Mayor, while I believe that there's certainly merit in recognising the fact that things we can have some very hot weather, I just wonder whether we really are getting into an area here where that really, while the intention I'm sure is good, but I just think that we need to be very careful as a council getting into these areas where they are not really the responsibility of councils. I just have a concern, and I would have voted against it. However, it says the recommendation is that council consider the allocation of $15,000 in the 2021-22 budget, together with competing bids. And so I would consider it, but I really am very concerned that we're getting into areas where really it is not, council should not be trying to fund.
And Councillor Campbell. Councillor Abbott.
Yes, thank you. This is great. I'm really happy to see that we're starting on this journey, and obviously at some stage we'll need to be allocating more money than that. Heat waves are killing people now. Climate change is here and now, and it's all just becoming into this mix where people are dying. They're already dying of heat wave. There are possibilities for council to retrofit various buildings for vulnerable residents, have fans, whether it's air conditioning. My intention is life-saving. The intention is to do what we can to try and mitigate the heat waves when it hits here in the Upper Hunter Shire. And other councils have taken this on board. We've already mentioned that Moira Shire Council have, and Darebin City Council have. So there are already basically precedents already set by councils looking at heat waves and heat wave plans and what we can do for our community and most particularly the vulnerable members of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Abbott. As I think Councillor Campbell said, that's go into the Depop, so it'll depending then. So anyway, all in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 130, the Hunter Joint Organisation. You should all have a report that was handed out. Happy to move. Councillor Campbell. Councillor Fisher beats you, I think, with a nod. Councillor Fisher.
Mr. Mayor, I'm quite happy for Councillor.
Okay, Councillor Fisher. Move Councillor Fisher. Second, Councillor Watts. Questions, comment, discussion?
Yes, I do. So I was the councillor who brought this to council at the end of last year for us to look at, and I thank the General Manager for the report, the comprehensive report and the detail. I still have grave misgivings about our membership, but I understand that council looks like they're supporting this. I still want to leave the Hunter JO. I personally, in my view, it's very expensive. At the moment, it's 31,000 plus per annum. We haven't paid that to date, but that's where it is now, and I'm guessing it's going to go up. As I've mentioned before, I think this organisation is too city-centric. I believe, in my view, it's an organisation for developers, and it's not necessarily in our towns, and I mean all our towns in this shire. It's not in our town's interest. I feel the report that came, the activity report that Hunter JO sent, is a lot of motherhood statements that basically promise the world and actually deliver nothing. There's not much in there for climate change, and I just, whilst they say they deliver a stronger voice, they haven't. However, we have had discussions earlier, and I do take the point that was made to me earlier, that we need to become a stronger voice, that perhaps we haven't actually jumped up and down as enough when things don't go our way. So there's a lot of concentration on the harbour, on the airport, on all the coasts. There are actually schemes that I didn't like. I'm not aware of the Hunter Joint Organisation scheme that apparently there's a green caffeine swap and go coffee cup scheme that we're part of. So I wasn't aware of that. I am really alarmed by the amount of corporation creep that is there. I understand, I think this is going to be supported, that we remain a member, and I do recommend to council that we do become a much more active voice, saying what country people want, what little towns want, because we are a shire of little towns, and we need to say a lot more. We need to do a lot more. But I thank you, Mr. General Manager, for putting this together and bringing it back to council.
Yep. No more questions, comment? Councillor Watts.
I believe council should remain with the Hunter JO, but while I understand many of Councillor Abbott's views there, I think we need to look at what we have been able to access, especially in the way of legal support, would outweigh that amount of money that we pay annually. I think the council maybe need to be a little bit louder when attending, whether it's the GM or the mayor, and speaking up about what our needs are in rural communities, rather than letting the city-centric take over. Thank you.
It's noted, Mr. General Manager. We'll take that down. So,
Mr. Mayor.
no. Councillor Campbell.
May I speak? Look, I agree with many of the things that have been said and perhaps disagree with some. However, I still support the fact that we should be part of this JO. The problem is, you see, when you start to pull out and become very centric for your own area, you don't have a voice at these areas. You've got to remain in, although you may not agree with many of the findings and that sort of thing. But when you stand out and pull out of these things, you don't have any voice or any influence. And I believe that really what we're thinking about with the JO is the influence that JO can exert on government and also on other organisations. I agree with the fact that, yes, it does cost $30,000, but you engage a barrister and a solicitor, and I think you'll find that $30,000 will be chewed up very, very quickly. So therefore, that the advantages, I believe, outweigh the disadvantages, and I commend the General Manager and also the Mayor for taking it this far, and perhaps we can support him, both of them, more in taking our concerns to the JO. So I certainly support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. All in favour? One more quick one.
Just one more really quick one, just following on from Councillor Campbell. Would it be possible then for you, Mr. Mayor, and the General Manager to bring back more information when you attend the meetings, whether they're in person or in Zoom, so that we have a lot more information what is happening, because it has been quite sparse, and I think that would be a good thing to see what was happening, if that's possible.
I'm sure that that can be certainly done. Okay, all in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, Councillor Watts, you leaving the room? Councillors, page 136, G 02.2, relocation of the Scone Visitors Information Centre. Got a mover? Move Councillor Fisher. Second? Councillor Abbott. Any questions, comment, discussion? Councillor Abbott.
Yes, in the paragraph report / proposal, it says with respect to the library, and I'm still smarting about that. So I just want to make a comment, just a brief one. So I support this motion, but that, however, a structural assessment has indicated that the library book base may be too heavy for current flooring structure. But that's not what I believe that report said. It was basically, it mentioned an arrangement of bookshelves and books that needed to be strategic, and that the shelves shouldn't be above a certain height. It didn't actually imply that we couldn't have the library up there. I just wanted to correct that. Thank you.
Thank you. No more questions, comment? Discussion around it? All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Councillor Watts, just for your information, that was carried in the affirmative. What have you got a big smile for? Okay, councillors, over to page 144, G02.3. Move Councillor Campbell, second Councillor Driscoll. Questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Down to page 152. Move Councillor Watts, second Councillor Campbell. Questions, comment, discussion?
If I may.
Yes. Councillor Campbell.
I must have that same voice, Mr. Mayor, because you don't even have to lift your head to see.
I'm
Look,
used to-
just to say that the VRA was very successful, and the support that the Merriwell community gave all those participants was very, very pleasing, and also that it was, as I say, it was well attended. So it was really good, and I'm just not sure of the amount that was raised, but it was quite considerable because it was quite hot. But anyway, people came out and supported the VRA, and it's a very worthy organisation to have within our town. So I'm pleased to second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Any more questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 156, policies for review. Move Councillor Fisher, second Councillor Campbell. Questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Council, we've dealt with the TAFE, so we go over to 166. Grant applications. Move Councillor Watts, seconder. Councillor Fisher. Questions, comment, discussion? Councillor Abbott.
Yes, I just want to mention again about, I know it's been explained, but I don't understand why money from governments, where I know it lists local roads and then it says community infrastructure program, but still I want to make the point that it's so important that we somehow source some funding. And even in this COVID time now, well, we're not after COVID, we're in the middle of COVID, but this money is here because it's recognising that everybody's doing it tough. And yes, of course, roads need doing, but so do houses need being built. Community infrastructure needs being built. I know you've explained that it's not here, but if we could even just continually write to our state member about we need more money so that we can build houses for the vulnerable people in our community, and there are lots of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Abbott. Any more questions, comment? All in favour? Councillor Campbell.
Have just a comment to it, and I've brought it up before. Look, one of the problems with these grants is that the outside person especially lives up in the outskirts of Merriwell and the Castless, is that they're very town-centric, and they have improved our towns, which have been very good. But I just believe I would like to see that amount of money that's been allocated there. That wouldn't even do one road, and we've got so many roads that are just so far behind and need assistance. And so I think we also need to not only lobby our state government, they need to step up and provide more funds for our local roads.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. All in favour of the motion? Against? Carried. Over to page 172. Move councillor Watts, second councillor Campbell. Any questions, comment, discussion? All in favour?
Very good.
Councillor Campbell.
Very good.
All in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, over to page 175, notice of motion. Move councillor Abbott, second councillor Watts. Questions, comment, discussion?
Yes.
Councillor Abbott.
I would just like to say that coal seam gas threatens farmers' land and all land and threatens farmers' livelihoods. Communities across Australia almost universally oppose CSG. And since the approval of Santos's Narrabri gas project last year, there's been some movement across New South Wales by petroleum exploration licence holders, I'm going to refer to them as PELs from here on in, with respect to their PELs and resurrecting them. This in turn has caused some local angst, even amongst state members who predominantly are National Party members in this area, and some of them have come out and voiced their opposition to these PELs being resurrected. We need to voice our opposition in this shire. I am aware that we already have a position on coal seam gas, and thank you, Mr. Pringle, for providing it to me with the two PELs that we have here, also giving an overview of those. We need to do everything we can again and everything in our power to protect farmers' land and the water and their families' well-being. We know that fracking chemicals have seeped into groundwater, killing stock and contaminating land. I basically exhort this motion to my fellow councillors that we voice our opposition once again to coal seam gas, that we don't have it in our shire. And I wonder also at the same time if we could update our position statement on coal seam gas, which came from 2015. Thank you.
Thank you. No more questions, comment, discussion? Councillor Watts.
And just to reiterate, the council do have a statement. Maybe we need to make it more known. There's been no new information on coal seam gas as the shire that supports mostly agriculture and the equine industry. We should not support any CSG and continue to protect our most precious commodity, which is water.
Thank you, Councillor Watts. No more. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, this is really our position in the Upper Hunter Shire, which I agree with. For others in the other areas of states and different states, I think that's their position, and I wouldn't agree with this if it was suggesting to go out into some of the more arid areas and get coal seam gas. It's nothing to do with it. But in our Upper Hunter Shire, I agree with it, and I agree with all the points because I don't want to see that happening in our area.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Right, all in favour? Against? Carried. Over to questions with notice. Councillor Watts, are you happy with the responses? Miss Christmas?
Yeah, I asked for recycling of the mattress, recycling of the mattress drop-off and the tyre drop-off, and I thought the impacts on tyre would be bad. But I also asked if we could look at a recycle day after Christmas for the people that aren't on that week for bin pickup. And look, I'm not asking on the spot. I've just asked for a costing so that we can make a decision during Depot.
Yep. Thank you.
And in relation to the flagpoles, we only have the literary flags, which I just saw the other day and not looking good, and Christmas. So that's for the new flagpoles. That's what I was referring to. Went past Aberdeen on the highway and there's nothing on their flagpoles. So if we could get the revitalisation to, I mean, I'm sure there's some grants out there that we could tap into to actually promote what we have in this region. It would be good. Thank you.
Thank you. Just on that tyre drop-off, I think that'd be very dangerous. You'd have farmers out there with tyres. I mean, when you go to get new tyres, you can certainly dispose of your tyre. You've got to pay, but at least it keeps the business in your town. If they buy new ones, they get rid of the old ones. I think that will cause an awful...
I did say that.
Yeah.
I did say that.
Yep. Yep, that's fine. Councillor Abbott, you happy with your responses?
What I would like to move a motion from the floor for my question number 1, the council right to our federal member, Mr. Barnaby Joyce, and urge him to make representations on our behalf to stop the Billawheeler family being illegally detained on Christmas Island anymore, and instead to see that they're brought home to Billawheeler and their community in central Queensland.
I'll second that, for just the letter to be written.
So, councillor Abbott, I must be getting softer as the meeting goes on, because I wasn't going to allow it, but I am going to allow it, but I'm going to ask councillors that we don't make a habit of that. If you're so keen on that, if we can get a notice of motion in, it may make it just a little bit easier to handle.
Thank you. I sincerely thank you. I understand your position. You made it plain at the beginning of the meeting, and I really, really thank you for the heart that you have and for listening. Thank you very much for that. The other responses to my questions have been great. And I've raised earlier about the roundabouts, and I will continue to raise that because it's something the Chamber of Commerce have mentioned. But I also, with the Depop, thank you that we're going to be starting to discuss that in March. And as I've mentioned before, I have had a lot of people contact me who've previously provided submissions who have felt that their submissions haven't been listened to or even considered. Obviously, a lot of people know that we may not necessarily agree with them and adopt them, but they actually think that we didn't consider them at all. And some people have even asked me, did we even read them? And so thank you for that, because you have answered the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Abbott. That's just the sort of person I am, councillor Abbott, very fair.
Thank you.
Okay, council, that's the end of the agenda. Get someone to move us into closed council, please. Move councillor Watts. Seconder, councillor Campbell.